Hello and welcome to Introduction to 3D Printing. This is part 3 as a part of a 4-part self-paced Introduction to 3D Printing workshop as presented by the Integrated Teaching and Learning Program here at CU Boulder. Now we're ready to prepare our machine. So we're going to start with Cura and we're going to switch to the monitor section. And the first thing we're going to do is make sure that we are connected via USB to our printer so that we can control it. So we're going to hit connect. And you'll notice at the top it should say connected via USB where connecting is when it's done. And once it's done, we can now heat up our printer. So if you hit preheat, it's those default settings that go with the material type you selected under prepare. But if you want, you can also type your own temperature into these. So PLA typically melts at 200 degrees Celsius and the build plate should be 65 degrees Celsius. So I hit preheat again and you're going to watch that little gray area. It tells you the temperature it actually is. It's already 200 degrees because I already preheated it, but usually it'd start from 0, climb to 200. And then once your hot end, or what we call the tool head, is hot enough, close to 200 degrees C, you can remove the material that was previously in there and replace it with your own material or filament. So the material reaches 200 degrees C. We're now ready to remove the filament that will be there when you show up. Typically, you're going to want to cut 2 inches from the top. And so the way to remove it is this black gear right here. You want to rotate backwards. So in that direction. And so you'll rotate it backwards. You'll notice the filament climbs up the column. And then this idler, this black part it's in, is going to release. And you'll no longer be able to rotate it up further. At that point, you just tug it and you can pull it out and it comes out nice and easy. So that's how you remove your filament. Next, you'll load your own filament, your own spool. We're discussing how to load your filament. Let's talk about what that is and where you can purchase it. So filament refers to a thermoplastic, which is any material that melts when heated and hardens when cooled. And there are many that are compatible with printers, but the ones that we allow is only 2 kinds, PLA or NinjaFlex. The only of the 2 we sell is PLA, and you can purchase PLA on the ITL website and pick it up at our launch point in person. We selected this material for our printers because there are few carcinogens when heated, but it's also a really great prototyping material. To purchase the PLA, you navigate to itll.colorado.edu. You'll go to our online payments page, pay for 3D print, and that's where you'll find our 1 kilogram spools of PLA you can purchase. The second material we allow but do not sell is again called NinjaFlex, which is a material that flexes and can be great for things like encasements or even tires for wheels. The one thing to keep in mind when purchasing is you must get it in the 3mm diameter filament, and you must ask the launch point for permission and instructions before using this on one of our printers. So we're now looking at the top of one of our TAS 6 printers. This is a PLA spool right here. And the way that you're going to load it is you're first going to take this PVC pipe off. Then you're going to string your spool through. You'll grab the end of your filament and you can pull it down below the machine all the way to the nozzle. You might need to bend it out a little bit to straighten that end. And then once you get to the end, you'll basically want to, just as when we removed, place it in the same hole at the top. Again, I'm straightening it out. You'll push the idler towards you to align it with the base column, and then you'll take your gear and you rotate it forward this time. So I always think as it's coming towards you, you're asking it to come out. So I'll take that, rotate it forward, and I'm going to rotate it till you see that green filament heating and melting at the bottom there. Before manually extruding, I want to show you in Cura that you can home all. And once you've homed all, you can now start playing with the movement of where the tool head sits. This is going to be helpful so you can give it enough space to push more filament through. So you have move length right here, We'll change it to 10, it's in millimeters. Extrusion amount is the amount your filament comes out, 10 millimeters. If I click to the right or the left, moves the tool head up, down, back, forth. You can do this in the X, Y, and Z positions. Now I'm going to change it to 20 and move the Z up to a position where it's safe to extrude the filament. Once it's done, I'm going to hit extrude, and you'll want to see your filament come out nice and straight so it looks like perfect spaghetti. We're good to print. Before printing, I'm actually going to clean the nozzle with one of these Scotch-Brite pads. We're going to clean the bed with isopropyl alcohol, and these two things are going to help you print for success. So starting with this, we're going to scrub the nozzle, then we're going to scrub any of the 4 contact points that the nozzle will touch when it's actually calibrating and getting ready to print, so it doesn't fail calibration because it can't make a metal-to-metal contact. We'll take our isopropyl, and this will actually clean off the bed, any debris, and make it easier for prints to stick. And now we're ready to print for success. So now that the nozzle and bed is all clean, the last step is to hit Start Print within Cura. Once it starts, I sped up this process, but your printer is going to cool down, and it's going to cool down before doing a calibration. This is where it does metal-to-metal contact with the nozzle in each of the 4 corners, as shown here. This process helps to orient the tool head in space. It will also wipe the nozzle off. There's a little wipe station on the left-hand side. And this whole process is really important for the beginning of your print. So if it ever fails, it's usually that things just aren't clean, such as your nozzle or the 4 corners, or perhaps your tool head's not seated on that carriage back there. So it's best to check that everything is clean. Now it'll start its print, and I've fast forwarded through the first 4 layers. So typically you want to stay for the first 4 layers of the print, because if your print fails, it's typically going to fail there. Now I sped up the process between the calibration and the start of the print. All this happens quite slowly, it usually takes about 3 minutes. So that's something to consider. Once your print finishes, we have a collection of steps. So first, you're going to want to wait for the bed to cool. The bed will actually move forward and almost present your part to you when it's done. And it has to be cool so that you don't damage your part or the print bed when removing it. When you're ready to remove it, you want to grab a mallet, and you can hit it towards the side to help pop it off the bed. If you have trouble removing it with a mallet, there is other tools you can use to pry it off the bed. Once it's removed, the final step is to clean your bed with isopropyl alcohol. This ensures that you remove any debris or any print material such that the next person can get a good print running. The final step is to take a set of burr cutters and to cut your filament with at least 1 to 2 inches sticking out from the top. This is significant because it allows the next person to be able to actually grab and remove your filament. It gives them enough room to do that. The second thing it does is it tells the next user the status of your print. Your printer is in good status because it has that filament there. It just completed its last print, and they'll know to remove it and get started on theirs. Thank you for joining me for part 3 of 4 in this self-paced introduction to 3D printing workshop today. In the next workshop, we're going to learn about our high-definition 3D printers and do a quick review of what we learned today. So thank you for joining, and see you next time.